So, what is it that the rich and the famous owe their children's, owe their family? It's an interesting discussion that we actually got into earlier today on Pop Culture Crisis because we looked at this story of Guy Fieri and how he is requiring his kids to get 2 college degrees before they have access to their inheritance. And I believe he actually got that idea from Shaquille O'Neal, who famously said the same thing, that if you want access to the money that I made, then you're going to have to go and get 2 college degrees. And I find this topic, honestly, a little fascinating, if not a bit hard for me to kind of grasp how to explain what I feel about the situation, because it seems like internally it's a struggle between the idea that as a parent, you would hope that you want to provide your children all of the opportunities, all of the comfort in the world, and also that inherent knowledge that providing them everything they could ever want is counterproductive to growing up and, developing as a human being. And it kind of makes me just think about how the rich, the famous, their struggles, the things that they have to think about on a daily basis aren't the same as the struggles of you and I, but it doesn't make the dilemma for them any less real. And I kind of find that fascinating. I think people were getting a bit upset at me because I kind of thought it was strange that in a world now where we understand that college has largely become a debt trap that doesn't actually provide a whole lot of real world opportunities in many of the fields that people are going to school for. It just seems like an unbelievably weird and arbitrary benchmark. And we're going to get into that. We'll go back over that a little bit. But I want to talk about this article about Ben Affleck, who says that his older kids have jobs, and he defends this viral video of him denying his son $6,000 sneakers. $6,000 sneakers. That's insane to me. I was actually just looking at this video earlier, not to derail too much about it. It was like every man's dream. It was like a wall of sneakers. I'm like, what, dude? Whose dream is that? I don't remember my dreams, but if I did, it wouldn't be that. But let's go through it a little bit, and then we'll get into it. So it says, Ben Affleck is teaching his children a valuable lesson about working for your paycheck. While appearing on a Tuesday 2022 episode of Today with Jenna and Friends, the actor and dad of 3 spoke about his recent viral video where he criticizes his son after he asked for $6,000 Dior Air Force Ones. He wanted these sneakers, and I was like, these sneakers are $6,000. What are you talking about? What are you going to do? Mow lawns? You got $6,000, he joked. He was like, we have the money. I was like, I have the money. You're broke. Okay. So he's got the logic of the middle-class parent teaching his son or daughter the value of money. If you want to buy that album, you want to buy that magazine, you get a paper route. And then you make your money on your paper route and you go buy the magazine or the toy or whatever it is that you wanted to buy. And I think inherently that is a good thing. I think teaching your kids the value of money is important. But I also find it weird because it's like this obscure denial of reality where I feel like it could lead to resentment. Like, I don't know what the solution is because you can't just give in to everything that they want. You can't just provide them everything, no matter how ridiculous the ask is. And I do believe the ask of $6,000 for a pair of sneakers is insane. But at a certain point, if you are a multimillionaire with homes in Calabasas and all over the world, multiple properties, but you're treating your kids as if you're a middle-class parent who makes 60, 70, 80 grand a year, or a household that makes 80 grand a year, you're not attached to reality, and they inherently understand that. And I feel like the combination of your refusal to accept the premise of reality and their developing brain will lead to a certain amount of anger and a certain amount of resentment from the kids. And what's weird about it is like Hollywood is known for, not exactly treating their kids well and the tumultuous relationships between parents. But I feel between parents and their kids, but I feel like on its face, you're coming from a good place and you want to do something good for your family, But because the struggles you face are so unique, the skill set in dealing with it just isn't necessarily going to work the same, because I don't know if that type of denial of reality will end up working out in your favor. He continues, you love your kids, you want to give them everything, and you do everything for them, but I think you definitely do them a disservice by not connecting. If you want something that you want, you have to work for it. So the idea that if you want this, you got to go and work for it. But the problem is, from the outside looking in, the average person, who doesn't understand the film industry or the work that goes involved in making movies and getting movies out to theaters, they don't look at what an actor does as honest work. Now, I understand that Ben Affleck is not your average everyday actor. He's unbelievably successful. He's also a very successful producer and director on all levels of the Hollywood machine, right? And that is a big money machine. But to the average everyday person, you go and you pretend to do something for a living and you're paid an exorbitant amount of money, which is already incongruous with what the average everyday person feels. So it's weird to see you talking about the real world when most of the world doesn't understand that the world of big money Hollywood isn't the same as everywhere else. They asked him if his kids has job. He obviously has multiple kids with Jennifer Garner, his ex-wife. Yes, my oldest two have jobs. In fact, one just got a job. The kind of classic teenager working a shop job. I won't say what it is, he replied. My older one is in college working and trying to get an internship for the summer. And yes, my son who's 13, he's reckoning with that reality now. He's looking at no shoes in his closet. Well, he's got shoes, just no crazy expensive fancy shoes, he said. Well, if you want that, then you can work 1,000 hours. You know what I mean? Minimum wage. And once you work 1,000 hours, you may not want to spend that money on a pair of sneakers. Again, I think that's a valuable lesson to learn. But the thing is the money you make per the hours you work is still so much higher than what the average everyday person will ever make in a lifetime that it's hard for people to connect with the lesson you're trying to teach your kids, even if it's a good one. And it kind of just drew me back to the Guy Fieri article about how his kids have to get 2 college degrees if they want to receive their inheritance. Well, what's weird about it is like, first, I guess the question is like, do we have this discussion about rich parents and what they owe their children? It's your job as a parent, because there is a generation before us. The whole point I made earlier is I was derisively saying, okay, rich boomer, okay, famous boomer, that there is this fetishization of the idea of struggle from the previous generations, the pull yourself up by the bootstraps generation, which doesn't seem to always understand innately now that the world that they live in, the world that's been created by the boomer politicians, the neocons and the neoliberals, has created a world where wages have stagnated, where college no longer provides the type of degrees that actually benefit you unless you're going into hard sciences or you're getting a degree in the trades, something that's a useful skill. Like, we've created a debt trap world where people can't live and afford homes and people can't get by. And the mantra was still, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You got to figure it out, which has created a large realm of resentment amongst some millennials. And it's gotten and led to a certain amount of nihilism amongst Gen Z, who just doesn't see a way out or a future where they're going to live in any type of comfort, or even like the idea of retirement is just, it's a myth to most of the newer generations. So it's a very interesting discussion to have. Why is it that Hollywood, especially, in the movies in the 80s and 90s, they started pushing college as this benchmark for getting ahead in the world, when we understand now that that is not the world where we live in now, given the student loan crisis, with the amount of kids who expect the government to just forgive their loans that they took out willingly. And people wonder, why is college still considered this benchmark? Why is it that Guy Fieri wants his kids to get two college degrees? Maybe there should be requirements put in place about what types of degrees to ensure that it's actually something worth going into. Or perhaps you want to provide your kids, say, look, I won't necessarily, I can't provide you your inheritance. Maybe you give them, you put the money in a trust and it's not just based around college. What about your son says, look, I don't want to go to college, but here is a 5-point business plan I have at my age. They'll certainly give me, $100,000 in debt in loans to go to college because it's government backed, right? That's the bullshit about it, is that they can go take out $100,000 in student loans, and because it's backed by the government, they're going to get their money back either way. They're going to get their money either way, and then you're going to be put into permanent crisis because you can't declare bankruptcy on those loans. So the whole point is, like, does the kid not have the option of, and again, I'm playing Monday morning quarterback, I'm spitballing here, but what if he comes to you with a 5-part business plan about a restaurant he wants to open? Is that not showing you the same initiative that it takes to go and go to class, get your degree? Who cares whether you're actually going to use it or not? Or maybe they say, not only do you have to go and get 2 degrees, you have to actually find a job in your field and work in that field for 5 years or something like that, to prove that it's not just about the college degree. It's about teaching them the value of hard work, following through, doing your research on what you're going into study so that you know that there's a field of study to go into there. But he talked about that here, where he's got a $100 million contract with the Food Network. This is Guy Fieri. And how the kids aren't going to get it unless they go to school. He says his eldest son, Hunter, is 28 and is set to graduate with an MBA from the University of Miami. Well, there you go. If he's getting a business degree, get that kid into BlackRock or Vanguard, and he get a job, in private equity. He'll make a ton of money. He won't even need your inheritance at that point. He says poor Ryder is just finishing his freshman year at San Diego State. And he says his youngest, who is 19, the boys rib him all the time. They say, we're done. You still have to go and finish college, and then you have to go do your postgraduate. Yes, go do your postgraduate with the knowledge that you're going to get a large sum of money, which doesn't incentivize you to actually get a job in your field. It just incentivizes you to reach the finish line of graduating college. There's also this part in here where he talks about how his son went to private school. And I talked about this on the show today, so I apologize if you watch and and it feels like I'm reiterating. Where his son went to private school, and all the kids had Land Rovers, and they had Lexuses and nice cars, and his son had to mow lawns so that he could buy a 1990 car, like a 1990 pickup truck. And again, on its face, teaching your kids the value of money is a very, very good thing. But I just feel like it's this weird denial of reality that you expect your kids to live the life you led before you had the money. And perhaps the lessons you're teaching are good, but it can lead to resentment down the line from families. And I find it kind of fascinating that college is still this benchmark. But I do think teaching them no is good, but there's like all these articles. It's kind of this interesting topic where it's all these celebrities who are teaching their kids the value of money. So Shaquille O'Neal says, "You're not rich, I'm rich, you got to get 2 college degrees." George Lopez says that he won't leave his daughter, Mayan Lopez, a large inheritance. He wants her to be independent and responsible for her own life. Amid the divorce from his ex-wife, Mayan Lopez told people she won't be receiving an inheritance. She inherited wonderful gifts from her dad. The biggest life lesson he taught me was to try and be the best comedian I can be. That's one of them that's obviously taking it very well. This one was really funny, though. Bill Perkins' book Die with Zero, he expresses how inheritances are useless by the time they're received, and why he thinks gifting money earlier when it will do the most good is a smarter move. The author and former Wall Street trader explains how he intends to spend his money before he dies. When it comes to the kids, Die with Zero shows thoughtfulness by having put your kids first, which you do by thinking deliberately about how much to give them and then doing so before you die. Akon talks about how he doesn't want to leave his children wealth that they haven't earned, as it could lead to entitlement and a lack of motivation. He emphasizes that his duty as a father keeps him responsible and accountable, which he wants to pass on. He said, "While I'm taking care of my responsibility to make sure that my family has a roof over their heads and food, if I have the time to do and show love, yes, I will do that, but my responsibility is to make sure they grow up responsible and strong." Tyler Perry says that he wants his children to understand the value of hard work and not rely on his wealth. He expressed possibly passing down his legacy to his son, but only if he really wants it. Like, again, what does that mean? I feel like there is a middle ground here. Perhaps it is through putting trusts in place with your kids that put certain benchmarks that they have to kind of achieve in their career to get that. It's kind of a really, really difficult question that I can't imagine having to deal with. But I posed the question on X. I said, should famous parents provide their kids with an inheritance? I did this just over an hour ago or 2 hours ago. So far, 51% say yes, 25% say no, and 22% took the option that says yes, but after college. Some of the responses. Every parent should aim to privilege their children in every way possible, not just with material support, but with the tools to thrive. That means teaching them how to build and preserve wealth and instilling a strong set, teaching them how to build. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. And instill a strong set of moral values to guide them and future generations towards a better path. I apologize for butchering that one. One person says, where's the I don't care option? Yeah, I don't blame you. Another person says, yes, but they can't touch it until they're 60. Put it in a trust and not allow them access until they're 40, so different ages. Another person, Steve, says seed money first and no straight inheritance for kids who can't manage their money. If you want to leave those ones anything, set up some kind of trust where they receive a set amount each month or something. A fool with his fortune is a time bomb. Yeah, that's obviously true, especially like these days, given the amount of substance abuse that's real in the world and stuff too. It's like, a kid provided unlimited wealth if they have destructive hobbies is just a time bomb waiting to happen. Patrick Rousseau says, no, the kids need to learn how to work and make it on their own like the rest of us. We didn't have famous parents and had to work for what we have. Why can't these kids with a famous parent do the same? Look, I don't disagree on its face, but I just feel like it's this weird denial of reality to pretend like the parents don't have it, right? And we talk now about the selfish boomer generation, which has, in a lot of ways, voted for and reinforced a world. I read recently the other day in like Fortune magazine talks about how the millennial generation is the first generation worse than the previous generation that came before them, meaning that the boomers lived a better life than the millennials, when the idea before that was always historically, I want to work hard and provide a better life for my family. So I guess the philosophical question is, if you have reached such wealth, such unattainable heights that most people will never understand, what does it mean to leave your child with a better life than you yourself lived? I suppose that's a difficult question, and unless you're somebody who actually lives that life, you can't really know the answer to it. But I would be interested down below. Maybe check out the other video we made on that. It comes out Friday. I believe I'll be putting this one out on the weekend. Let me know, are parents, are the rich parents, are the children of rich parents owed an inheritance from their family? What are the responsibilities of those parents to provide for their children? Is it material support? Is it simply love and the understanding that you have a family that cares about you? What is it? Let me know down below. Guys, we will be back next week with brand new episodes of Pop Culture Crisis. We are always live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you there, guys. Later. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.